Hello and welcome to the sports show. The only team that can confidently say that nobody beats us 17 times in a row. So, we're recording this right after the Broncos Chiefs game on Sunday, but you guys will be hearing it on Saturday, so the Broncos don't actually play tomorrow. So for any Bronco fans listening to us, this will hopefully tide you over until next week. I was expecting, because we were talking about doing this episode, and I was expecting it to be kind of a sad episode, but it turns out that we were, well, I didn't see your predictions. I don't know if you ever sent me your predictions. I predicted the Broncos to win. I didn't actually think it could happen. The Chiefs have one of the best teams against the AFC West on the road. I did not know that going into today. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's any exact. There's one game that Drew Lock had against the Patriots, and I think it was when Brady was still there. That I don't think so. Though I'm pretty sure we ended up losing that game, but it was a really close game, which was exciting for me. That, but we didn't. So before we get too far, this whole episode is just going to be about the Broncos. Um, we have. It's kind of weird because I have to remember that this is going up on Saturday. So we have our regular podcast that you guys will have heard Wednesday, and then next week we're going to be doing kind of a similar podcast as today, but talking about the whole league, kind of a retrospective of the season. But I wanted to spend today talking about the Broncos. So, anyways, yeah, I don't think we won the Patriots game. Um, this game was really good because of the way we won, and there are lots of excuses that you could throw if you're a Broncos or if you're a KC fan, right? Mahomes got sick. Taylor Swift wasn't in attendance. I don't really know what else. I think mostly Mahomes being sick. It's crazy, dude. When Taylor Swift isn't in attendance, Casey hasn't won because I think Casey's undefeated with Tasteway and on on one only lost. I don't know. I don't know how you would put it. I'm just ecstatic. I just want to say though, because you and I talked about this before, we kind of alluded to it, that losing Justin Simmons was a huge blow to our defense because he's our defensive captain, and we're seeing it right. Like as soon as Justin Simmons came back, the Broncos have looked great defensively. I don't remember the exact game he came back. Um, this is the first time that Casey has allowed more than 21 points this year. I mean, we talked about how good their defense is, and not to take anything away from the Broncos, but the Broncos, we did not do. We only put up 240 yards, so it's not like we stomped them or anything. But yeah, yeah. What's kind of interesting is the last time we went against the Chiefs, we allowed. Let me see. Let me look up these stats here. Last time we went against them, we allowed 4 for 10 fourth down, or 4 for 13 third down conversions. And today, 6 for 14. God, I keep looking at the wrong one. And today, 3 for 10. Like the the Chiefs have the best third down by a long shot. I need to. I should have pulled all this up. I was just so excited to a podcast. I don't have any of my stats stuff up. I don't know what I want to talk about. I don't know nothing. So we kind of touched on this already, but I want to talk about some of the bad things because this wasn't a clean game for the Broncos, and I think if you're watching on like NFL Red Zone, or if you're watching this game, or if you're just looking at the points, the stats after the game, 24-9 looks like a really convincing win, but it really didn't feel that convincing until about halfway through the fourth quarter. I honestly, personally, I didn't feel like we were gonna win this game until the muffed punt. And I think the first time we went against the Chiefs was really the eye-opening experience for Bronco country, right? Because we held Pat Mahomes to only one touchdown. This explosive-ish offense, we held down to 19 points, one touchdown with one interception, and then it's just a bunch of field goals. Similar thing happened today. So I think defensively, as much as it pains me to say, I'm feeling better about because we've been doing good, especially after, like we mentioned, after getting Justin Simmons back. The Jets game kind of fluky, but we held the Chiefs to 19 points, the Packers to 17, Chiefs again to 9. I think next week, and we'll have talked about this on Wednesday's episode against the Bills. The Bills have not been looking very good since going to London. They are 2-2, but yeah, they're 2-2, but their two wins have not looked great. They're going against the Broncos defense that are now turning the ball over. They're now sacking Mahomes 6 or 7 times, and we're putting the pressure on. And it's really up to Russell Wilson, Sean Payton, our offensive line, to really be able to take advantage of those drives. It's really disappointing that we got 4 turnovers and only scored, 13 points off of them? No, 10 points. Because we got the 3 turnovers in the first half, which only converted down to 7 points. And then the muffed punt, which converted to a field goal, I want to say. Now I'm doubting myself that was... No, it was a touchdown. Um, the muffed punt. So, that's all fine, but it is kind of concerning that we can turn over the ball that well and then not do anything with it. It really reminds me a lot of what happened last year. Sorry, 5. Holy shit. 5 turnovers, not 4. And and the big thing that I'm noticing with the Broncos is Russ still gets sacked on third down, like key third downs. And luckily this game ended up working out because of the muffed punt. But that last drive, the drive that you're talking about, the reason why we were going for a punt in the first place was because Russ took a sack and that put them out of field goal range. We're still getting out offensed by KC. Russ only threw 114 yards. I don't know why it says 87 yards for team stats, but it says Russell Wilson threw for 100. Oh, because passing yards also counts for getting sacked, right? I think. But yeah, Russ got sacked 6 times today. We ran 8 plays more than KC, but 30 yards less. Had the ball 7 minutes longer. So there's still a lot of things offensively that we need to clean up. Russ looked good. We only had one turnover today. We still have a lot of penalties that we need to clean up. We're still punting the ball so many times. We're still getting sacked so many times. But we're 3-5 right now. There's not. I don't think there's really a chance now for the Broncos to even smell the playoffs. They're all but officially out. I guess if they win out and the AFC North all just forget how to play football. But and we have the we lost the tiebreaker against the Jets, who would be the spot that we're trying to fight for anyway. So I think we're all but out of playoff contention this year. So this is a good opportunity for the Broncos to just look at all of these issues that they're having and see how to best fix it. Yep. Yeah, looking at our schedule now, especially with Kirk Cousins out for the rest of the season, I see 3 games that we will that's going to be really hard to win. And that's going to be the Bills, the Browns, and the Lions, right? And I think we split the Chargers. So that's 4 losses right there, which does put us at 8-9, which maybe could be good enough for the playoffs, but I think we have to win one of the 4, right? We have to beat either the Bills, the Browns, the Lions, or we have to sweep the Chargers. Sure. What do you think has to happen for the Broncos to be out of playoff contention in your mind? What is It's a really weird year though because let's ignore for a second that Kirk Cousins got hurt. And again, this is releasing. We're recording this 6 days early, so maybe it turns out that Kirk Cousins didn't have an Achilles tear and he's fine, and none of this actually makes sense. I thought they're I thought doing an MRI to verify it. Oh, okay. Okay. So, but yeah, so some of the stuff that we say might be kind of funny because we're recording it 6 days early. But anyhow, it's kind of a weird year because right up until Kirk Cousins got hurt, the Vikings looked like they were going to make it to the playoffs. The Broncos have a chance to make it to the playoffs. The Bengals look like they could go to the playoffs. Jets are actually fighting for a playoff spot, especially with the close game today. Um, excuse me. And these, and I bring up those teams specifically because those are all teams that started 0-3, 0-4, I think. I don't think the Bengals started 0-4. I think they started at 1-3. Um, and the Jets obviously didn't start 0-4 because they only have 3 losses. So 0-3, 1-3, or 0-4, 1-3. Those are all records that in the past statistically you had such a low chance of making it to the playoffs. I think I saw a stat that said since the AFL, NFL, AFC, NFC merger, there's been 0 teams who started 0-4 who made it to the playoffs. It might have been since the 16 game schedule. 17 is different, yeah. But since the 16 games, I don't think there's been any teams that went 0-4 and made it to the playoffs. And I think it was something like if you went 1-3, you had less than 10% chance to make it to the playoffs. But now we're looking, and we already knew that the Dolphins and the Bills were both going to make it to the playoffs. So if you take out all the division leaders plus the Bills, it is 4 wins right now is good enough for a playoff win. 4-3 is good enough for a playoff right now, and the Broncos are 3-5. That is, we're only 1 game behind. That was yeah. Hold on to that thought because I do want to talk about that. But I want to ask you what your thoughts would have been if we lost today in terms of the Broncos making it to the playoffs. No, we still would. I mean, we need to record this episode at some point. Although, this has been your first Broncos game to watch, though, right? This year. Yeah, that's right. I think I think so. You bring up a good point too. Of it would have depended on how the Broncos lost, because I was pretty optimistic after the Broncos lost against the Chiefs. Because in my opinion, and you can correct me on this, in my opinion, it's easier to fix a bad offense than it is to fix a bad defense. And so us looking really bad against the Chiefs offensively, but stopping Mahomes in the red zone, um, picking off Mahomes, and just overall having that good of a game against the Chiefs defensively made me feel a little bit better. And if that was a similar case today, it would honestly, I probably would have thought the same thing as I thought last year. If this season's a wash, maybe next year Russell Wilson will remember how to play like a Super Bowl winning quarterback. But if we lost because our offense did really good and our defense kind of sucked, I think that might actually feel better given the fact that the Chiefs have the best defense in the league. Well, a top 3 defense in the league right now. I'll at least give them top 5 at worst. I think top 10 is. I think they're easily in the top 5. I think you can argue for top 3, but um, either way though, if the Chiefs had lost today or had won today, I think it would be hard to argue that the Broncos can make it to the playoffs, because all of a sudden, like you said, the Bills game looks a lot harder. The Browns game looks a lot harder. The Lions looks a lot harder. And even games like the Patriots, where they have a pretty decent defense, looks hard. I know the Patriots almost looked competitive today for about half the game. But so you said Vance Joseph is probably safe for the season. Do you think that's the right call? I'm ready to fight now. We've had our good moments. We've had happy times because the Chiefs won. But um today is October 29th. The trade deadline is October 31st. Um yeah, right. But we can also, even outside of that, we can still fire a coach whenever we want, basically. So I want to start off with Vance Joseph because he's the guy I've been most critical of since the season has started. Do you think his team is safe, or do you think his job is safe? I should say. really wish Charlie was able to come today because he kind of understands defensive schemas, and he talks a lot about how Vic Fangio, changed the league for the better. But I remember in 2017 when we signed Vance Joseph as our head coach instead of Kyle Shanahan. Thank God we dodged the bullet there. Kyle Shanahan's a hack. Um, no, it would have been great. But so everyone kept talking about how Vance Joseph was this great defensive coach. And I remember going, "Oh, that's awesome," and looking up Miami's defense, and they were like middling. I just looked; they were like 18th. Yeah, no, he was a defensive back, running back. I do remember them talking about that. Let me do some quick. Let me do a quick Google. Oh, he was a quarterback and a running back. Yeah. Well, you know who else has Colorado connections? Kyle Shanahan and Mike McDaniel's. Uh, God. Anyway, and then we, and then we fire him, and he goes to Vance Joseph, and then he goes to Arizona, and he goes to Arizona as their defensive coordinator. And the first year he's there, they're 28th ranked defense in the league. And then last year, apparently, Sean Payton saw something in Arizona that no one else saw because they were the 31st ranked defense. It's I just think it's hilarious that every time he leaves a team to join the Broncos, he's not a good defensive coordinator. Granted, the 2 years between when he was in Arizona, they had a pretty good defense, but the first year and the last year in Arizona did not look good. And then his first year in Miami, or I guess and last, he did not look good. I I'm less Vance Joseph than I was 3 weeks ago. Obviously, our defense has been getting better, but I still struggle to see if that's a Vance Joseph thing or if that's a player thing. Obviously, the fact that we played as well as we did when Kareem Jackson has been suspended and we have PJ Walker in is a huge testament to Vance Joseph. PJ Locke. No, yeah, PJ Walker's the quarterback, right, for Cleveland. Yeah. Um. So obviously, like some of that goes to Vance Joseph, but on the same token, PJ maybe looks a little bit better than Kareem Jackson. I did notice today that we weren't trying to murder any players on the field, which to me is an upside. So maybe PJ Locke is a better player than Kareem Jackson, and that would be on Vance Joseph to identify. A better fit, yeah. But yeah, I think I agree with you that Vance Joseph is safe for the season. Depending on how the season goes, it's going to be really interesting to see if we decide to keep Vance Joseph or decide to go with someone else. I heard Rex Ryan being thrown around, and he's also a guy who I feel like hasn't done anything. Like obviously he was really good as a head coach. He was with the Bills for 2 years, but that's I'm pretty sure that's when they had Tre'Davious White. I could be wrong. Yeah, I think his job is safe during the year. What do you think? What do you think our defense has to look like before we decide that we have to fire him at the end of the year? Because right now we're the 31st ranked defense in terms of scoring. We rank last or second to last in most metrics. Um, we'll be up after this week, sure, for sure. But how, like, if we're 25th in the league defensively, does Vance Joseph get to keep his job? Like, where do you think it lands? It's just for me, it's a little scary because with today's only the second time that our defense has allowed less than 300 total yards. Um, Obviously the Miami game is a huge outlier in terms of that. But even outside of the 726 total yards that the defense allowed against Miami, we gave Sam Howell 388 yards. We gave Justin Fields 471 yards. You know, the New York Jets had 407 yards against us. And even the Chiefs, the first time where we held them only to 19 points, they had 389 yards against us. And we gave Jordan Love 331 yards. Well, not really Jordan Love, but And I think I agree. I think if our second half of the season we have a middling defense, I think Vance Joseph's job is safe. I'm not happy about that. Obviously, we talked earlier about the impact of losing Justin Simmons and what that could do to the defense. So I'm hoping that I can be optimistic. I'm hoping I can like Vance Joseph. I was honestly at the beginning of the season pretty excited about the fact that we're getting Vance Joseph back. But since since the season has started, I've probably been as big of a Vance Joseph critic as anyone else. Speaking of enemy number one, I think you're maybe you're not. Do you know who my least favorite player is on the Broncos right now? Besides Kareem Jackson, wide receiver. Yeah, it's Jerry Judy. He goes through streaks where he looks really good, and that's really disappointing for me because I wish instead of having the 3 games where he looks good for 2 catches, that he just looks decent for the entire season. Mm-hmm. What do you think, Jerry? What do you think is a fair or a good trade for Jerry Judy? Because I think the Broncos are looking for a first round pick, and I don't know if that's going to happen. A third, yeah, and I don't think a third round pick is worth trading him out for. We don't really have anyone to fill Jerry Judy's spot. Is the problem? What I'm just now remembering that we used to have KJ Hamler. And we just released him last year, and he's on the Colts practice squad. Cause no, that's Tim Patrick. Holy shit, dude. Yeah. No, I think it's sad. I I kind of forget how good or bad KJ Hamler is because in my Madden game, Hamler is pretty decent. But in my Madden game, the Broncos went 17-0 because I played on easy mode because I play it so I can remember what it feels like to have a team that wins. Is there anyone that you think the Broncos should try to aggressively trade off? So, like, obviously, I think, well, before this week, I would have said Jerry Judy. I think, like, Kareem Jackson could be on that list because he's still a really good player. But I think PJ Locke just fills out that role pretty nicely as well. Um, I think it was last week, it might have been 2 weeks ago, I had mentioned that anyone who doesn't, if we were choosing to go with Russell Wilson as our future for the next, I guess it's 3 years at this point, then we need to get rid of anyone who doesn't buy into the Russell Wilson hype on the Broncos. And I don't know who that could be, but is there anyone on the Broncos that you see as really good and we could get a lot for them? It's harder to say that now that we're actually in playoff contention, but I what what about like Gregory? Oh shit, that's right. 49ers. Yeah. I was also he's apparently a curse because ever since the 49ers had Randy Gregory, they have not won a game. And I think we've won every game since getting rid of him. I think we got rid of him right before the Chiefs game or right after the Chiefs game. I don't remember when we got rid of him. Okay. All right, so this is something I've been wanting to talk about for a while. We've got, I don't know, about 9 minutes left before we hit the hour mark. We'll probably go a little bit over. But if you could have, if you could draft like your perfect Broncos team. So you remember, what's the game? Madden Arcade. So if you can Madden Arcade the Broncos without obviously like without just being like, okay, well I'm just gonna grab the entire Eagles team, right? You can still kind of keep. I don't know how to say it, but if you could take, let's do it this way. If you could take any player from any other NFL team, so one player per position for QB, running back, um, receiver 1, 2, tight end, and then we'll maybe go defense depending on how long that takes. Who would you who would you go? Here, I'll type this. I'll type this out in on the Discord. So you can only take one per team. Yeah, per position. So you can't be like, yeah. It was someone who I thought was really random. That yeah. Wait, is he the number one rusher this year? Oh, I thought there was someone else. No, you can't have because they have to be from different teams. Each position from a different team. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's not a lot of good tight ends right now. Did you know Jimmy Graham's still playing? By the way, because I just found that out. I forgot. Yeah. Yeah, I know. I always want to put way more in there. So hold on. I'm looking. I'm cheating right now because I'm looking for Oh, yeah, it's fine. So I would go for quarterback, keeping with the connections thing. I'm gonna go with Josh Allen. Kyle Pitts. Okay. No, you're good. So I'm gonna go with Josh Allen. Not actually a Colorado connection, but the fact that Way scouted him and wanted to draft him. Yes, basically. So obviously, like you. Oh, running back McCaffrey. Same reasons as you. Which we could have gone Josh Allen. I keep wondering if there's a world where we could have gone Christian McCaffrey. I don't think we were able to give up what they wanted. So wide receiver one, same thing. Justin Jefferson. Actually, no, I'm not picking Justin Jefferson. I'm picking I'm gonna say Cooper Cup, wide receiver one. Yeah, I mean it's Cup or Nakua. Like it's one or the other for wide receiver one. Wide receiver two. Who did you put? You had AJ Brown. I'll go AJ Brown. The reason why I didn't want to pick Justin Jefferson though is because I want their tight end, whose name I can't remember. What's their tight end's name? Yeah, Hawkinson. Would probably be my team. I'm sad. I I like Mike Evans. I like the like smaller Michael Pittman, Keenan Allen. But I don't know. There's something about the Rams wide receivers. Like there's something about the way Cooper Cup plays and now Puka Nakua, which feels. I thought you were writing mine, so I erased mine. It doesn't really matter. No, you're good. My defense. I don't even know. I don't know like anything about defenses this year. Honestly, I feel like after watching the Ravens, the Jets, the Broncos, like all of those really historic defenses, the defenses this year just don't seem as good. Yeah, and I think part of that's just the offense is getting better, and part of that's probably um rule changes that are making it easier to play offense. Hey, you nailed it. You remembered all of it. Um, I think about this pretty frequently because I think I think about it frequently because I play Madden, right? And I trade pretty frequently to get a better team. It used to be every year I would just get rid of whoever my starting quarterback was and sign Colin Kaepernick because for some reason Madden still had him rated as like an 85, even though he hadn't played in the NFL in like 7 years by that point. Excuse me. Yeah, I mean I'm not afraid of getting blacklisted. They can't fire me. I'm the owner. I think a fun topic to do would be who are the best Bronco players in each position historically. I maybe like I mean like the five, right? Like QB, RB, wide receiver, one, two, and tight end. Yeah, I don't think it's gonna take too long. I imagine ours is gonna be very similar. I'm gonna write down mine too. The one year that he did really good. Okay, you definitely went way more classic than I did. So I'm gonna go with Manning. I think Manning's just one of those generational quarterbacks. Although, granted, when he was on the Broncos, outside of the 1 year that he did really well, he hadn't looked too great. So I wouldn't be opposed to Elway. Throw Throw Davis one of the best running backs of all time, I think. Um, and I'm gonna go with Brandon Marshall, even though I think Brandon Marshall's peak wasn't with the Broncos. I and then Rod Smith, and then I think our best tight end is Julius Thomas, but I wouldn't be opposed to Shannon Sharp. Yeah, I'm just remembering the like one really good Julius Thomas year, and I think I bought into it because that's when like we had so many good tight ends that year. Not the Broncos, the league, because there was Jimmy Graham. Do you remember how unstoppable Jimmy Graham was, like at his peak? Are you kidding? I thought he had 1,000 yards. Manning's historic. I think so. I think so. Here's I think a really funny top five that you could pick, which wouldn't be a terrible team. It's not the best, but it's just like kind of forgotten players. Not, I guess Cutler's not really forgotten, but Jay Cutler, Philip Lindsay, Brandon Lloyd, Eric Decker, and Daniel Graham. No, this isn't. Well, so originally I put No Sean Moreno, but Clint Portis would have been perfect actually for like these are just people who like had one really good year for the Broncos. We had Graham for a long time. I think so. Daniel Graham? I thought we had him. I thought we had him for a bit. Maybe not. Let's see. 2007, 2010. So 4 years. Yeah, it was. I guess. I guess actually, you know what? Trevor Simeon might fit that better. Trevor Simeon or Brock Osweiler. You think so? Well, this is like people who've had the one really good year. And I think Simeon he had multiple good years. That's fair. I wouldn't put Kyle Orton there. Oh yeah, he actually Greasy should be the quarterback because he, much like everyone else, had only one really good season with the Broncos. Ashley Lee. Are you saying that last name right? I don't remember him. Apparently, he got mad when we got Javon Walker, though. I don't think Javon Walker did very well for the Broncos, so. Oh, yeah. I guess this would be a good way to just kind of transition. This was kind of I don't want to say lazy, kind of a sloppy podcast, kind of a lazier in terms of production and stuff like that. It's just supposed to be something fun that we wanted to do, nothing too serious. If the Broncos had lost, this would have been a podcast about how we need to get rid of every single person on the team. But the Broncos won. We're in a good mood, more lighthearted because of that. But you talked about Ed McCaffrey. No, it wasn't Ed McCaffrey. It was Brandon Stokely. I keep getting those two confused because they look very similar on the field. Was Stokely? I guess yeah. Stokely was pretty short, but 6 on a good day. So I'm currently working on compiling some videos to make us an introduction for these Saturday podcast episodes. So that'll be fun and exciting if I remember where I saved these videos, which I don't. But we got that going on the docket. We're recording strong. We skipped last Saturday, which is yesterday, but for you guys it would have been last week. Originally we were going to record, we were thinking about recording something about what teams should do to trade before the deadline. Looking at it now, I don't think there's any big blockbuster trade that could happen, especially now that Kirk Cousins is hurt. I guess by the time you guys listen to this, you can tell us if any big trades happen or not, or don't tell us because we're gonna be listening in. But yeah, I'm working on an introduction video for our Saturday podcast. I'm still trying to figure out how to do this whole marketing thing, advertising, letting people know that we have a podcast, and still looking for better names. But other than that, yeah. Other than that, we have our check us out every Wednesday, 7 a.m. is when the 7 a.m. Mountain Standard Time is when the podcast gets uploaded to Spotify. Saturdays at noon Mountain Standard Time is when the special episodes are coming up. Next week, we're going to be talking about the power rankings for the NFL. Compare them to week 0, week 1, and what they are currently. My guess is the Eagles are still going to be number 1. Chiefs are going to be number 3. And I'm going to hope that the Bills are number 2. But the only way the Bills can be number 2 is if they beat the Broncos. So scratch that. I hope Miami becomes number 2. And something's happening with San Fran. I don't know. We'll talk about it for you guys 3 days ago. For us, yeah, we'll talk about it more on an episode that you guys would have heard on Wednesday. I hate recording this early. Holy cow! But yeah, check us out Wednesdays and Saturdays, and maybe we'll even do more podcasts than that. But probably not because 2 a week is already a lot. Oh, Nate, you're supposed to be visiting us soon, right? It's snowing a lot here. So, well, when Nate comes, maybe he can come for the Super Bowl again. If Nate ever makes it back here, we'll have a special podcast with video on YouTube and the audio on Spotify. I'm still editing some of the other podcasts that Nate and I recorded during the summer. It is currently October 29th. So I'm not the fastest video editor. Apologies. But yeah, I am excited to watch Sunday Night Football. And I'm excited to talk to you guys again next week. I'll talk to you soon.